tahun ini Climate Diplomacy Week 2020 harus lebih meriah lagi.
Indonesia and the EU are major players in the realization of the Paris Agreement.
I sincerely congratulate to the European Union for the success of this annual campaign, EU Climate Diplomacy Week 2020, amid a very hard situation.
Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, selamat siang. Selamat datang di acara diskusi virtual peran masyarakat adat dalam konservasi hutan yang diselenggarakan oleh EU bekerjasama dengan Komunitas Konservasi Indonesia (KKIWASI), Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan, Forkline, GIZ, dan KFW. Saya Anggi dari Yayasan Madani Berkelanjutan.
Selamat datang semuanya di acara Fun Night Session. Apa itu urban farming? Nah, urban farming ini merupakan
ada film dokumenter yang diproduksi oleh Green Welfare dan
We need to stop repeating old habits. We need to create real change.
Di Yogyakarta dan gue bakal
karena keadaan bumi menurut kalian ya, ini udah banyak yang jawab kayak sakit. Menurut saya keadaan bumi
Siap. Oke. Kapan kita
terima kasih sudah bergabung di
jadi mengikuti pola-pola model yang dikembangkan atau representative concentration pathway.
Karena kalau misalnya rantai ketahanan pangan kami terganggu dan kami mengharapkan
climate change. Bapak Ibu, saudara-saudari semua, pada kesempatan ini
makes a special food, the fish.
Indonesia is joining a force together with the European Union to fight for the mitigation of climate change. Climate change is happening now, and now we are in Indonesia, beside Ciliwung River in the city of Bogor. And so here we will let you know how much Indonesia is doing about the climate change mitigation. Don't miss the date and join us.
Climate smart eating persen dari pangan yang the big things ya. Household waste juga jarang di recycle.
Tower gardens, urban farming, they're all very
Mengembalikan alam atau setidaknya tidak merusak lebih jauh dari apa yang sudah kita rusak saat ini.
you may access the simultaneous interpretation feature by clicking on the globe icon on the bottom right of your screen. Or if you're using a cell phone, click on the three dots on the bottom right hand, then click on Language Interpretation. Choose English if you would like to hear the interpretation in English. Choose Indonesian if you would like to hear the interpretation in Indonesian. However, please do not click Mute Original Audio to ensure that you can continue to follow the floor discussion when there is a switch in floor language. For the speakers, please choose the same channel as the language you're using. For example, choose English to speak in English and Indonesian to speak in Indonesian to avoid a collision of voice with the interpreters. Thank you. Para hadirin yang terhormat, untuk menggunakan fitur penjuru bahasan secara simultan, silakan tekan tombol bola dunia di bagian kanan bawah. Atau jika menggunakan telepon genggam, silakan tekan 3 titik pada bagian kanan bawah, kemudian Language Interpretation. Silakan pilih channel yang Anda butuhkan, klik English untuk mendengarkan terjemahan dalam bahasa Inggris, atau Indonesian untuk mendengarkan terjemahan dalam bahasa Indonesia. Mohon jangan menekan tombol Mute Original Audio, agar bisa tetap mendengarkan acara walaupun terjadi perubahan bahasa. Bagi para pembicara, silakan pilih channel sesuai dengan bahasa yang ingin Anda gunakan. Misalnya, pilih English untuk berbicara dalam bahasa Inggris, dan pilih Indonesian untuk berbicara dalam bahasa Indonesia, untuk menghindari percampuran suara dengan interpreter. Terima kasih.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to EU Climate Diplomacy Week, an annual program organized by the EU delegations and embassies of EU member states around the world. And this program is aimed to foster dialogue and cooperation on climate change, to showcase success stories, and also inspire further action. And the theme for this year's Climate Diplomacy Week is Ambition and Action. This theme resonates the main message for the Climate Diplomacy Week 2021, which to articulate that we care, we can, and we do, to start taking collective actions in all parts of society. This initiative calls for everyone to be on board to take actions, as we all share a common interest to keep 1.5 Celsius in reach. For the whole week, starting today until October 16th, we will be hosting a series of online discussions. We have talk shows, music performances, and other outreach activities to bring together communities, youth, and a wide range of stakeholders. I would like to also greet our audience who are joining with us in Indonesia YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. I see a very enthusiastic audience here as well on Zoom. Before we begin the event for today, to mark the opening of Climate Diplomacy Week 2021, we will be hearing an opening speech from Ambassador of the European Union to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam. Please welcome His Excellency, Ms. Ambassador Vincent Pickett.
Yes. Thank you very much for the floor. Ibu Ondine, great to see you here this afternoon for this opening of the this year's EU Diplomacy, Climate Diplomacy Week, Indonesia. Very happy to greet the ambassadors of 3 of the EU's member states. They are the ambassador of Denmark, Lars Bo Larsen, the ambassador of Germany, Ina Lepel, and the ambassador of Poland, Beata Kuczynski, who are joining me to jointly open this Climate Diplomacy Week with you. Very grateful for the high participation in this meeting, and I am honestly very grateful for your interest. This year, all over the world, countries have witnessed the impacts of climate change. In recent months and weeks alone, we have seen, once again, devastating fires, floods, and the most severe droughts in decades. And this happened in many parts of the world, including Europe, the Americas, and Asia. And we've got to recognize this hard evidence. And there's only one way to do that, and that is by responding to the evidence in a way that will protect lives and livelihoods and will lay the foundation for a new type of economy, a new type of society. We need to take decisive action, and we need to do that now. You will have read the report brought out last July by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. Now, that report was a very stark reminder of the evidence that climate change is happening and that the global warming is due to human influence. The report sets out the need to reduce CO2 emissions to net zero, and it speaks of the need to scale up action to protect our natural carbon sinks, such as forests and oceans. And only by taking such action will it be possible to halt global warming and to keep the goal from the Paris Agreement in reach. And that goal is to keep global warming at roughly 1.5 degrees centigrade. A viable planet for future generations and ensuring the health and well-being of all citizens is the responsibility of everybody. And the time to act is now, and we should do it together. The urgency to act is even more evident as we are on the eve of the critically important COP26 under the UN Climate Change Convention. This will take place in Glasgow next month. The COP26, for the COP, the target is clear, and it is to keep our shared goal in sight, and that is the goal of limiting temperature rising to below 1.5 degrees centigrade. And to that end, many countries, but I'm afraid not yet all, have submitted ambitious national emissions reduction targets. And they have established long-term strategies towards net zero greenhouse gas emissions. The EU has done its share with a new binding EU climate law, which commits the EU and all 27 member states to become climate neutral by the year 2050. That's only 30 years from now. To make this long-term target realistic, the EU has upgraded our nationally determined contribution under the Paris Agreement with a new reduction target for 2030 already, and the cut will be minus 55% compared to the year 1990. Last July, the EU presented a package of legislative and operational proposals to make that happen. The package is called Fit for 55, and it is meant to deliver on the emission reduction target and to prepare our economy for climate neutrality by 2050. the EU is ready to lead on climate action, but we recognize that we cannot act in isolation. The global crisis, after all, is a planetary one, and reducing emissions must be a collective global effort. All partners need to share this urgency and raise their ambitions. If all countries join a global race to zero emissions, we will all win. And similarly, if the world cannot come together, we all lose. There is no free ride or safe haven. On top of climate ambition, climate justice cannot be achieved without taking care of our biodiversity. And climate action and protecting and nurturing biodiversity are two actions that have to go hand in hand. And just to remind ourselves that on the biodiversity, there will also be a conference of parties meeting happening of the Convention on Biological Diversity, and it will start this month and carry on up to the April-May 2022. And the outcome of this agreement should be a global accord to halt biodiversity loss. To keep these double ambitions in mind and to make them accountable, the public needs to hear more than just targets and goals. And in this light, the EU diplomatic missions in Indonesia are organizing this Climate Diplomacy Week. We have 20 EU member states present in Jakarta. Together with the EU's mission, we are 21, and we have run and organized this activity together. And the aim is very much to promote dialogue and to showcase some practical stories, success stories, that can inspire our cooperation with Indonesia. And the motto is ambition and action. We'll have under that motto 5 themes about climate ambition, about transforming the economy, especially clean energy and circular economy, preserving the ecosystems, things like land use, forestry, oceans, and biodiversity. A theme called taking everyone on board, young people, civil society, cities, companies. And lastly, the theme that the means to reach and achieve the ambition. And you come then to financing, technology, and the role of business. Climate Diplomacy Week is organized jointly by the EU delegation and the embassies of the member states of the EU in Jakarta. And equally importantly, I should say, is that many Indonesian partners are joining in. Government, community groups, individuals, and civil society. There is also private sector, both from Indonesia and from Europe. And over the next 5 days, we will have a total of 15 activities, 15 seminars, webinars, to showcase that we care, we can, and we do. To step up action collectively in all parts of society and bring everyone on board to take action to keep the 1.5 degrees centigrade target within reach. And to take everybody on board, of course, in the digital era, we also make good use of social media. And in this connection, let me announce to you the start of a social media challenge called Aksi Iklimku, or in English, My Climate Action. as well as the launch of our new social media campaign, Act for Green. And both will be presented to you very shortly. I conclude by saying that we are very, very excited about doing this activity and about what's in store for all of us this week. I look forward to the program and to a very, very good debate. And we hope that you, participants, wherever you are in Indonesia, that you will help us to create more awareness, inspire new actions, create connections between Indonesia and the EU, and maximize outreach for a constructive dialogue between all of us. Terima kasih banyak.
You are most welcome, Excellency. Thank you very much. And the time is now, as the Excellency has mentioned earlier. And with that, I am pleased to announce that the Climate Diplomacy Week 2021 is officially launched. It is a delight to hear a hopeful message from His Excellency, and hope it is not lost, but we do need to move faster to secure a safe future for the present generation and the next. We are entering now the session on Road to Glasgow, Kunming, what to expect from the 26th UNFCCC and the 15th CB Cup. And to start this very essential session, I would like to invite the Ambassador of Denmark to Indonesia, His Excellency Lars Bo Larsen, to deliver his opening remarks. His Excellency, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much for this invitation, and good to see you here. I'm very encouraged to see so many joining the call today. Climate diplomacy is, I think, going to the heart of what the European Union stands for, but also my country, Denmark. We have been working for years and years to increase the ambition of my own country, of the European Union. And I'm happy to say that this year, I think we really see a lot of progress coming at the same time. We have seen from the European side what we call the Fit for 55 package coming out just a few months ago, which is really increasing the level of ambition of the European Union. And it's also going into the more difficult discussions of also greening some of the sectors that has been a little bit left behind in the previous climate discussions. Why do we see this now? For two reasons. One is that there is a clear need for this, seen from a political, moral, environmental background. We see the issues, threats to our joint climate and the environment is increasing day by day. You both mentioned the recent reports of the UNFCCC that are clearly highlighting the critical elements to it. But secondly, I think we also see right now a more broad-based transformation going on of our societies in a more green and more sustainable way, which will likely also not only contribute to making our economies less climate reliant, but also to foster more opportunities, growth possibilities, and jobs for the future. And I think right now we see more and more countries recognize that climate is not only a threat, it's also an opportunity to drive new growth models. And we simply see also, if you look at the global stock exchanges, that some of the companies that are transforming themselves more ambitiously in the green direction is having an upside simply in terms of market valuation. So I think really right now we see this combination of a generational issue of trying to preserve the climate that we have, trying to avoid further rising of the temperatures, with also increasing the possibilities for the younger generations here. And then let me add also on the international scene. Right now we have a very special set of parameters in place with the new American administration being extremely active on the climate discussions, with also the other major economies really pushing it. Let me just highlight that my prime minister was just in India this week, really raising the bar also when it comes to the energy transition, but also when it comes to climate policies. And we've seen just 2 weeks ago, I think the Chinese president announcing also a stop for coal financing around the world. So, and in all this, let me highlight that Indonesia will be taking over the presidency of the G20 Corporation in just a few months from now, a few weeks from now. And I think this will be a chance for Indonesia also to showcase its own potential to be really a global leader when it comes to climate change, when it comes to renewable energy, when it comes to innovative technologies, which will also, I think, present for Indonesia a possibility to develop new sectors, new industries that will be of key importance for the future generations in Indonesia. For my embassy, we are focusing mainly on, or primarily on partnering with Indonesia when it comes to energy and renewable energy. We have been working quite a bit on energy modeling in close cooperation with the Ministry for Energy and Mineral Resources, as well as with the PLN, the electricity state-owned company here. And not to go into detail here, but I can say that even today, fulfilling the present ambitions will likely mean a saving of long-term costs for Indonesia. So there is simply an economic public finance possibility to save money by investing more in renewables today, even including the capital expenditure that is needed to set this moving. Secondly, we see a lot of international investors that are only going green now. We see a stop of financing of coal power plants globally, also in Indonesia, but we also see a lot of green financing looking for opportunities in Indonesia. So I think there's a combination of factors that are pushing in this direction. And then let me also add that actually by going even more green than the present ambitions of Indonesia will actually mean a more cost-effective model in the long term for Indonesia. Put simply, the larger step Indonesia takes, the less costly it will be, and the more opportunities will be there. So that is why we are saying that we are so keenly interested in following the discussions in the Indonesian government now. We do see a lot of movement there. We do see a lot of activities, and we have seen a lot of new announcements coming out over the last couple of months. But looking forward, I still think that there is a possibility to go even further in a way that will both help combating climate change, creating new economic possibilities for Indonesia, but actually also ensuring a lower cost of energy in Indonesia. So that much for the energy part, recognizing also Indonesia has an important role to play in other areas, not least forestry, as one of the main climate emission sinks that we have around the world. I think I'm quite encouraged to see all the actions taking place there when it comes to forest, but also when it comes to mangrove preservation, for example, where Indonesia really has an important role to play. So I'm looking forward to this discussion. I'm looking forward also to hearing all the input coming from the audience today. And I thank you very much for this opportunity to engage here today with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. We also have the Ambassador Designate of Germany to Indonesia with us. Please welcome Her Excellency Ina Lepel to deliver her remarks. Her Excellency, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much. And congratulations to you and your team for pulling all of us together to create such a rich and creative EU Climate Week once again, Climate Diplomacy Week once again. This year marks a critical point in the protection of biodiversity and in halting climate change. Today, nations will start discussions on the post-2020 Global Diversity Framework during the first phase of the Convention on Biological Diversity, COP15, to prepare. And in less than 4 weeks, world leaders will meet in Glasgow for the UN Climate Change Conference, better known as COP26. On that occasion, they will need to take urgent action to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The devastating effects of biodiversity loss and climate change are already visible to us. These effects are not merely visible to nations in the southern, but increasingly also in the northern hemisphere. This year alone, we had to witness devastating forest fires in the Mediterranean, and extreme rainfall and flooding in Europe, including Germany and neighboring countries. In addition, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown us how closely economic and social cohesion and the environment are interlinked. Pushing the boundaries of the environment can have disastrous effects on our economies. The more pressure we exert on habitats, the closer contact to certain species we will be, and the higher the risk of future zoonosis. Even if we do not know enough about the origins of COVID-19, the pandemic should be seen as a warning to all mankind. With increasing temperatures and the loss of habitats, species might also exceed their capacities to adapt to climate change, which increases the risk of biodiversity loss even further. At the same time, changes in biodiversity play a key role in the fluxes of greenhouse gases. Thus, limiting global warming to ensure a habitable climate and protecting biodiversity are mutually supporting goals. There can be no doubt that this will require a transformative change. This is why Germany believes that the SDGs and the Paris Agreement are the necessary roadmaps to recover from the pandemic and to guide us in the next centuries. We must stop biodiversity loss all over the world, and under the new global biodiversity framework, we need to ensure that 30% of global land and sea areas are put under protection. Restoration is among the cheapest and quickest nature-based climate mitigation measures to implement, offering much-needed habitats for plants and animals, thus enhancing resilience of biodiversity in the face of climate change, with many other benefits such as flood regulation, coastal protection, while creating the opportunities to create jobs and income. We also need to step up efforts to keep the 1.5-degree target of the Paris Agreement within reach. As G20 countries, we have the responsibility to redouble efforts and submit stronger, more ambitious national climate action plans in 2021, and submit long-term commitments that are matched by immediate actions. In this context, it is crucial to recognize the critical role of coal. It is our responsibility to ensure to have policies in place that lead to a phasing out of coal early in the coming decade. We also need to withdraw from coal financing as quickly as possible, while also taking into consideration the financial and social economic implications such energy transition will have. Germany has committed to decarbonizing its energy system in the 2030s, including phasing out coal power generation by 2038 at the latest. We will fully decarbonize our economy by 2045 and reduce emissions by 65% in 2030. We welcome any country, including Indonesia, willing to join us, and we stand ready to support along the way. I am very pleased to see that Indonesia and decision makers all over the world are making great efforts to take these steps. I take this as testimony that we are all serious about decarbonizing our economies. However, the truth is also we are still lagging far behind. And as we heard in the song just now, wasted time can't be recycled. This is why we believe that fighting biodiversity loss and halting climate change requires global action and solidarity with developing countries and with those most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change and biodiversity loss. This is why we are to increase our budget allocation for climate finance from currently €5 billion to €6 billion annually by at least 2025. CBD COP15 and UNFCCP COP26 are decisive for future generations, and we are committed to work with our global partners, such as Indonesia, to take action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. And last but not least, we have the Ambassador of Poland to Indonesia. Please welcome Her Excellency Beata Stoniczka to deliver her opening remarks. Ambassador, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Ibu Andini. Selamat siang, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to participate in the opening of this year EU Climate Diplomacy Week. Polish Embassy in Jakarta participate every year in that event, preparing a discussion on one of the most important climate-related topics. Let me underline that this is one of my priorities here in Jakarta, to share with Indonesian public Polish experience in energy transition. This year is particularly important. Representatives of almost all governments meet in Glasgow, and the European Union and Poland are very much engaged in multilateral efforts to mitigation of CO2 emission. Poland is a country who globally organized 3 times the conferences of parties of climate convention. We did it in 2008 in Poznań, in 2013 in Warsaw, and 2018 in Katowice. Poland would like to underline its unique position. As the host, we were able to skillfully pursue negotiations and embrace interests of different countries and different regions. This is why Katowice rulebook was agreed in 2018 under the presidency of Polish climate minister Michał Kurtyka. So in this moment, in this place, I would like to mention that we are now working on arranging Minister Kurtyka visit to Jakarta. Most probably he will come to Indonesia next month, just after the COP in Scotland. So we will be very grateful to and very happy to host him here in Indonesia and discuss with Indonesia about the climate change and environment issues. But I would like to say a few words about the Polish experiences and expertise on climate change and environment issues. Over the last 30 years, my country has come a long way from a centrally planned economy with an inefficient industry and agriculture to a market economy, joining the ranks of developed countries. During the transformation period, Polish economy has grown for almost 300%, while emission has been reduced for over 30%. This is a significant decoupling of economic growth from greenhouse gases emission, including emission of CO2. This is our story, our Polish concrete contribution to global climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to present and promote Polish experience in climate and economic policy here in Jakarta. Indonesia is a crucial partner to achieve the objectives of global climate agenda. The European Union and its member states are contributing to Indonesia's environmental policy through investments, technologies, and increasing human resources. Poland is also ready for that kind of contribution in all areas, but particularly we are facing currently e-mobility sector and charging infrastructure. We would like to present more about Polish experiences in e-mobility implementation. The European Union and Poland would like to discuss and share with Indonesia cutting-edge technologies and know-how. However, let me underline that our portfolio of possible cooperation is much more wider and embrace all aspects of energy transition. Polish regions are ready to share with Indonesian regions our experience in transforming entire socio-economic structure from fossil fuels orientation towards new technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, Polish engagement in multilateral cooperation in energy and climate is focused on all platforms of discussion and cooperation. We are also willing and ready to contribute with our experience and expertise to Indonesia G20 presidency next year. I would like to underline our willingness and readiness to share our success stories in G20 summit, ministerial and working groups. Poland is ready to bring top-level officials and experts with unique knowledge and competences to make discussion wider and more inclusive. Again, thank you very much for organizing the EU Climate Diplomacy Week, especially for the EU delegation and Ambassador Vincent Pickett. I wish you all a very fruitful discussion. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Her Excellency. So ambassadors, and I would like to also invite Ibu Henriette Vargeman from the EU delegation Indonesia, ada Pak Fabi Tumiwa from IESR, Damayanti and Stephen. Damayanti is not here, so Stephen, kindly open your camera, turn on your camera, please, all the ambassadors, Ibu Henriette, Pak Fabi, kemudian Stephen. We will take a group photo like a true Indonesian. We have to take pictures first. Okay, on my count. 3, 2, 1. Another one. 3, 2, 1. Another one for good luck. 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. Thank you, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. And now to represent civil society organizations, we have Fabi Tumiwa, the Executive Director of Institute for Essential Services from IESR, who has more than 2 decades working on energy and policy regulation, as well as a practitioner of renewable energy, and also a member of Indonesia negotiator on climate change negotiation. Pak Fabi will share his vision how to reshape Indonesia's energy system to become more resilient, efficient, and carbon neutral in the future. But Fabi, I know you are running out of time, so the screen is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Andini. His Excellency Vincent Pickett, Excellence Ambassador from EU countries, ladies and gentlemen, all participants of this event. As introduced, my name is Fabi Tumiwa. I am the Executive Director of Institute for Essential Services Reform, or IESR, an Indonesia think tank on energy and environment. And thank you for giving me opportunity to speak in this event. Well, the message from the latest IPCC AR6 report is very clear. We are deeply in danger if we cannot reduce our greenhouse gas emission in the next decade and avoid temperature increase above 1.5 centigrade degrees. This decade is very important, whether we make or break Paris Agreement, and whether we will inherit our future generation a hard-to-live planet Earth as climate change worsened. We are all the victim of climate change, and therefore, in my opinion, that we shall treat climate crisis as serious and urgent matter and avoid climate catastrophe as a global humanity mission, where all countries, particularly emerging economies, make a significant cut of their greenhouse gas emission. Indonesia is indeed one of the largest emitter globally today. We rank 9th, I think, in the list. Indeed, we are not rich country. That's what, in contrary to some people thinking. Well, we still have 10% people living below the national poverty line, 2.9% proportion of population below $1.9 purchasing power parity a day, and 3.5% of the proportion of employed population earn below $1.9 per day. Our electricity consumption per capita is less than 1,300 kilowatt hour, far below average middle income countries in the region, and that means that there are still room to grow 2-3 times in the next 2-3 decades. And this is the issues, as 89% of Indonesia energy come from fossil fuels. Well, despite these realities, we still have poor people, we still have people living in the extreme poverties, the middle class is still growing. It should not prevent Indonesia to not to increase climate climate ambition. In particular, to support significant reduction of global emission by 50% from 2010 level by 2030 to be aligned with Paris Agreement goal. Energy sector that could be dominant source of emission in the future need to be transformed by rapid deployment of renewable energy, apply energy efficiency measures, and we need to start to phase out our coal power plant gradually to cut the emission deeper and moving toward decarbonization by 2050. We know that decoupling of emission and economic growth is possible based on lessons learned from many countries, including just recently what stated Poland. With the support of right policies, incentive, and leapfrogging green technology applications and know-how. ISR study, Deep Decarbonization of Indonesia Energy System, that published this year, showed that 100% renewable energy system by 2050 in Indonesia is technically viable and financially feasible. Moreover, this approach could help Indonesia economy become more competitive, cheaper energy costs, and creation of millions of green jobs, and opportunity for new industry to be developed. However, this transformation requires large scale of investment. Our study indicated that for reaching decarbonization by 2050, investment in power sector, transportation system, and industry could reach as much as $1,300 billion, 1.3 trillion from now until 2030. This is significant amount and will not be able to be borne by government or state-owned enterprise of Indonesia. This requires investment from overseas and financial support from developed countries. And here we talk about the promise of $100 billion annually as and technology transfer as part of Paris Agreement that are required to ensure the energy transition agenda in Indonesia could be implemented. Well, the delivery of financial commitment is very important to make COP26 Glasgow successful. And with that, developing countries like Indonesia could leapfrog in modernizing its energy system, meeting higher level of carbon reductions, and keep energy price affordable for its citizens. And finally, I would like to emphasize that civil society organization has a role to play. We work with government and non-state actors to create enabling conditions for higher ambition and show innovations and working with community in addressing both climate mitigation and adaptation challenge. So let us collaborate for higher climate ambitions. And again, thank you and enjoy EU Climate Diplomacy Week 2021. Back to you.
Thank you, Pak Fabi. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, leading up to COP26, hundreds of youth across the globe were gathered at the Youth for Climate Driving Ambition event taking place in Milan last September. Although there's been youth participation at and in advance of the climate change conference in the past, this year's was special because it was the first pre-COP event hosted by the United Nations. And today we are pleased to have representatives from Indonesia and Germany to share their reflection from the summit and also their aspiration for the world leaders to tackle climate change. Initially, we have two from Indonesia, Steven Setiawan and Damayanti. Damayanti is not here with us, but we have Steven. I'll share with you a bit of background of the two of them, Stephen is a climate educator from Cimahi, West Java, that works in education, direct engagement, and advocacy concerning climate change issues. Stephen is the co-founder of eLarvae, a waste management startup that has a goal to empower waste pickers economically to recycle organic waste with black soldier fly larvae. Stephen also co-founded Baramuda, an NGO that has a goal to educate youth concerning environmental issues through creative media. Aside from that, Stephen is also a national campus ambassador of SDGs, representative of Indonesia for Youth Climate, Driving Ambition, and youth delegate for World Forum for Democracy. Wow, you're such an achiever, Stephen. And also Damayanti, a bachelor student, activist, and analyst, and has been doing consultation for several international organizations in the field of youth, gender, and intersectionality area. And she serves as the youth delegate for Youth for Climate, Driving Ambition, a pre-COP26 youth event. Welcome, Stephen. Stephen atau Stephanie?
Stephen.
Okay, Stephen, what was your takeaway from Youth for Climate in Milan?
Okay, so thank you. My name is Stephen Setiawan, one of the delegates of Indonesia, and from the Youth for Climate Driving Ambition, we actually have 4 key takeaways because we have 4 working groups. The first is about youth driving ambition, the second is about sustainable recovery, the third is about non-state actors engagement, and the fourth is about climate conscious society. Maybe I will explain the topics shortly. So in youth driving ambition, we have 3 recommendations. The first is about meaningful participation, that we request countries to ensure meaningful youth engagement and involvement in all decision making. Also, the second is capacity building, about scale up financial, administrative, and logistical support. And the third is concerning funding, that we request countries, international organizations, and public and private financial institutions to dedicate and also funds to support youth participation. For the sustainable recovery, we have 5 topics about energy transition and green jobs, also about adaptation and resilience. The third is about nature-based solutions. The fourth is about financial flows, and the fifth is about tourism. For the third, non-state actors engagement, we have 4 recommendations. The first is about to support participation of young entrepreneurs, artists, farmers, and athletes. Second is demand non-party stakeholders to align current and future operations to net zero emissions. The third is about enhanced environmental transparency and accountability. And the fourth is about to request any non-state actors engagement to not accept any fossil fuels investment in 2030, including but not limited to UN bodies, fashion, sport, art, entrepreneurship, etc. And the fourth, which is my working group, is about climate conscious society. We have 4 recommendations. The first is about showcasing impacts and solutions. The second is about education, that we request all countries to have climate education as a part of the national curriculum, integrated, and also for non-formal education. And the third is about public awareness and mobilization. And the fourth, my sub-working group is media, that we need to train journalists and communicators to convey the urgency and implications of the climate crisis in a transparent, accessible, and conversational manner. And that's our key takeaway from the
Okay, Stephen. So it's going to be a bit off script, but it's still on the line of the questions that we already given to you. So we have like a lot of pessimism towards the COP26 for the outcomes. As a youth participating for the pre-COP event, what do you expect from the world leaders to create something after COP26?
Okay, thank you. My expectation for the world leaders participating in the COP26 is, first, this is the age of collaboration and not the age of competition or the age of blame game. So what we need to do is we need to do our part. Especially, we request for the developed countries to have the just transition and also the meaningful support for also the developing countries and the most affected countries for climate change, so we can do our part together but not separate, because we believe that climate change affects everyone in every part of the world, and in even the even we can see that there are many climate disasters happening in 2021. So we request we have to act now, just like the ambassador said before, and we have to support each other, especially for the most affected groups and most vulnerable groups of the climate crisis effect.
Right. So set aside the partisanship, and because there's no I in team, right? We have to team up for this to tackle this issue, right? So you mentioned collaboration. What can we do, as a youth generation? I consider myself a young generation in the EU and Indonesia to work together for this common agenda for climate action.
I believe we have three ways. The first is direct engagement. Direct engagement means we directly do action that is related to the carbon emission reduction, for example, waste management. The second is about education, how we as young people, we use creative media, technology, and also our education to spread the awareness in the society about the climate crisis issue. And the third is advocacy. Advocacy is like joining campaign, joining advocacy, joining agendas like PCOP and also COP26. So that's my three recommendations of what can you do.
At the very basic, maybe just educate ourselves, right, regarding this issue, and how can we contribute for like small steps that we do on a daily basis, I guess, and then we can start to collaborate. Or parallel, so we can do it at the same time. Thank you, Steve. And we will hear from another youth climate activist representing Germany. We have Joshua Stape. Joshua is a high school graduate from, I have to butcher this word, Wetterstetten High School. He is one of the 2 German representatives from more than 380 selected young people worldwide joining Youth for Climate in Milan. Joshua is passionate about advancing the topic environmentally friendly nutrition in Germany and around the world. Joshua is not here with us, but he is sharing some perspective, amplifying the work of young climate leaders to drive ambitious climate action through a video message. Let's hear it.
Our atmosphere is filling up with greenhouse gases at an unprecedented speed. Since my speech has started 10 seconds ago, we have pumped more than 15,000 tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This year, COP26 will take place, a United Nations climate change conference aiming to tackle exactly this issue. Given the fact that we already had 25 other UN climate change conferences over the course of the last 25 years, and our emissions are still rising, my optimism is limited. That's exactly why these kinds of events are needed to drive ambition towards COP26. We need every single voice, every single person, every single company, and every single country to keep 1.5 degree alive. This will be our last chance to take the measures needed in combating the climate crisis. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. My name is Joshua Stape, and I represented Germany's youth at the United Nations Youth Summit and the pre-COP26 in Milan, Italy. 197 countries sent 2 youth delegates each to come together in order to think about tangible ideas, proposals, and demands in regards to climate action. The energy and the endless optimism from the young people I met there is exactly what we need to confront the challenge that lies ahead all of us. It's time for the world to respect us as a meaningful part of the solution. It's time for the world to appreciate that youth constantly come up with creative, innovative, and outside-the-box solutions. It's time for the world to stop framing us as naive and uneducated people trying to skip school. It's time for decision makers to include us in the dialogue, the decision-making process, and the implementation of measures concerning climate action. Climate action only works if everyone works together. But the world must come together in more ways than just facilitating intergenerational dialogue. Currently, there is a deep division between the global north and the global south. The global south faces some of the most severe, brutal and terrible impacts of climate change, despite emitting the least. In 2009, the world's richest nations pledged to provide $100 billion of funding every year by 2020 to help the global south tackle the climate emergency. But that goal has never been reached. How can we justify that single countries mobilize trillions of dollars overnight during the COVID pandemic, while failing a promise of $100 billion collectively? How can we justify that promises and commitments are made on a daily basis, but no one even cares how to fulfill them? And how can we justify that everyone is talking about sustainability, but no one acts upon it? When we talk about climate finance, we should not only talk about quantity, but also about quality. We cannot lose the bitterly needed money to bureaucracy and corruption. We need strategies to ensure that those who need the money for climate mitigation and adaptation actually receive it. Every single dollar of the $100 billion pledge is crucial. Last but not least, I want to thank you and every young person who is already involved in climate action. The world needs you. And for those who want to start acting, I have one advice. Just do it, just do it, just do it. You will find like-minded people, and together you can be the change you want to see. There are many initiatives who can help you in getting started, from virtual and international climate hackathons to grassroots finance. You can do it. Let us drive ambition towards COP26 and far beyond the conference. Thank you. If you have any questions or want to reach out, you can always contact me on Instagram at Yoshiano.
Thank you, Joshua. Isn't it like a boost of positivism if we see like a lot of like young generation passionate and then actually do something about climate change and how to tackle it for future generation? So I hope we can do it together by listening to the young generation. And Damayanti and Stephen will join our youth session on Thursday, October 14, hosted by Climate Reality Indonesia. And in this session, we will gather youth in Indonesia to discuss and address main urgencies of climate action. And also, if you like to know what are the events for the Climate Diplomacy Week 2021, visit climatediplomacyweek.id for detailed information regarding the event. With the spirit of ambition and action as the central theme of Climate Diplomacy Week, we would like to celebrate climate actions that are happening in many parts of society and bring them on our online media sphere. The EU delegation in Indonesia will organize Aksi Iklimku, or My Climate Action social media challenge, encouraging general public to share their climate actions online and inspire others to start taking actions as well. To get to know more about this, please welcome Ibu Henriette Vargeman, the first counselor on environment, climate action, and ICT, EU delegation Indonesia, to guide us through about the challenge. Ibu Henriette, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you can hear me. Thumbs up. Very good. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, dear friends. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present a little bit more about our social media challenge. So I think actually the previous speaker did a much better job than me in explaining why we need such a social media challenge. But just to recapitulate, I think we all know that all our individual activities creates a carbon footprint. And this leads to a negative impact on the climate and on the earth in general. Whether this is that we go by private vehicles, we use electricity that's based on fossil fuels, we waste food, and so on. We all hope, of course, as we also heard from the young people, that our leaders are going to solve the issue of climate change and the biodiversity crisis during the COPs 15 and 26 in these next few weeks. But we also heard that there is a little bit of pessimism at least from the young generation, that this is actually going to happen. So it is really essential that we all know that we can contribute to this low carbon lifestyle, to solving the problems. I think this is important not only for solving the problems, but also for the feeling that we actually are part of the solution. So, and this is actually the reason why we are launching this social media competition that is called Aksi Iklimku, and I was doing my very best to pronounce that in the correct way. I think I managed more or less. So, my climate action. So, what does it exactly mean to live a low carbon lifestyle or to have carbon action in your everyday life? You can do a lot to promote sustainable options in your daily life. So related to what I said before, we can use public transport. We can finish the food on our plate. We can avoid thereby to create food waste. We can also use raw materials that are not from thousands of kilometers away, but local, and we can make sure that they are in season. Here in Indonesia, everything seems to be in season all the time, but it's not the case in Europe. We can turn off electricity, conserve energy, and these are just a number of activities that we can all carry out. We can also do real active climate remediation. We can plant trees, we can plant corals even, or we can plant mangroves that some of us are going to do later in this week as part of the EU Climate Diplomacy Week. So there's a lot we can do. And what we need is for all of you to show us what you are doing, what you think we can be doing, what we should be doing more. So what you really need to do to participate in the challenge is very simple. You can create a photo or a video of max 1 minute duration about your low carbon lifestyle, about something that you have done, that you are doing for the climate or for the environment in your own life. You can be creative, you can put it together in any way you want. We have seen on other occasions that the youth in particular here is very creative, so we look very much forward to this. You can upload these videos and photos through our community Instagram account, which we will hear a little bit more about in a moment, with a catchy or inspirational caption that can educate people. So tell us what you're doing, why you're doing it in a short and very captivating way. So you can see all the hashtags and account numbers, accounts that are downstairs, but just to mention some of the tags that we would like you is Uni Europa, the Uni Europa account, and the hashtag Climate Diplo ID for Indonesia, and CDV ID, Climate Diplomacy Week Indonesia, and our new social media platform, Act for Green, which you will hear about in a little moment. So it's a short challenge. It will go on only for this week until the end of Climate Diplomacy Week. So the deadline is 3 o'clock on the 15th of October, this Friday. So the challenge is open to everybody above the age of 13. So we count on you, young people, and also on those who just feel young, to put your best ideas and posts up there. We will announce the winners in the closing session of the Climate Diplomacy Week next Friday. And just to motivate you a little bit more, participants, the ones who are rewarded, will get a GoPro camera so that you can continue to post and inspire and spread your activities on climate action. So we really look forward to your entries and to keep you involved in this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ibu Henrietta. And I think you're still going to come back again, so please remain with us here and to For more information about this challenge, please follow EU Indonesia social media handle at uni_Eropa. As we have been actively organizing environmental campaign activities, we are pleased to launch social media platform in Facebook and Instagram to build a larger environmental movement called Act for Green. And this platform is aimed to motivate and empower both youth and adults on environmental activism. Let's see the clip. Very well. And then I would like to invite again Ibu Henrietta to guide us through about this Act for Green platform. And all of you should follow by now because it's already live, right, Ibu Henrietta?
Yes, thank you very much. It is already live, so this is the moment of the official launch, but as you will see, if you go on the links, we have already been posting some of the things that we have been doing previously on these issues. So thank you again for the opportunity to introduce this dedicated social media platform for environment and climate action. So Act for Green ID on Instagram and Act for Green on Facebook. So you will see them, you will be able to find them very easily. I think the name Act for Green speaks for itself. It speaks to what I was talking about before. It's calls for action by everybody towards greening our world, our planet, and helping to solve some of these not so positive images that we saw in the beginning of the short video. Our main mission is to promote transformational and meaningful green change, and also to foster a mutual understanding between the EU and Indonesia and all the stakeholders that are working on these issues, all the green initiatives. So as you can see here on the screen, we will have a number of different things that will be published, different kind of approaches that we will have on the social media community space. So we will have awareness raising. We will have a section that is called Did You Know? To make sure that we post all the information, the best facts and figures that we have available about climate change and environmental issues, that we make sure we start from a common understanding of the situation, and we do it in a kind of an easily understandable way, because all of this data can be very difficult, of course, to understand. Then we will have we will use these social media platforms as outreach platforms for all the green initiatives that the European Union and Indonesia are doing together. And we're already doing a lot together on many, many aspects of the green agenda. The EU and Indonesia are working closely together. And we would like all the partners that are involved in all this collaboration to really be a community, build a community where we can inspire each other and share stories and keep this movement growing. So then the third component, as you can see, is the Green Champions. This will include video interviews with some well-known people, personalities, public figures from Indonesia, where we will try to get also a little bit higher level of involvement in the social, in the green campaigns. And then just a general way to disseminate news and highlight news related to green issues in the EU and Indonesia. So we really hope that we can use this to connect all the green communities and activists, and simply anyone private individuals who care about these things, and I think we all do by now. So I really like the quote that Stephen was saying before. This is the age of collaboration, not of competition, and this is indeed the spirit of what this social media platform is about. So I hope that we can really get together, everybody on this on these platforms, and that we can keep building them over the years. I invite everybody who is here at the launch of Climate Diplomacy Week to already sign up, to share them widely with your networks, because I'm sure you all have a very wide networks, and together I think we can make an impact. So thank you very much, and also from my side, very warm welcome to this first day of Climate Diplomacy Week 2021. I really look forward to all the events, and I thank everybody who is involved. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Ibu Henriette. Well, Ibu Henriette, if you ever need an impactor to boost up that account, please count me in. I'll do whatever I can to support this movement. And also, for those of you, follow Act for Green, Act 4 Green in Facebook, kemudian Act 4 Green ID on Instagram. Share it to everyone you know. Actions for the environment, and let's inspire people, more people, to be on board, to take actions to protect the environment. It's not only to protect the environment, it's also protecting us, right? So we are now reaching at the end of the event of day 1, Climate Diplomacy Week. However, this is just a beginning. We still have more interesting sessions coming up tomorrow until Friday, the 15th. I'm Andini Effendi on behalf of the EU delegation in Indonesia as the organizer. I would like to extend our deep appreciation and thank you to all distinguished speakers, and for everyone, all of you who are attending this event. To all journalists, we will shortly have a press conference. Please remain on this platform. I will hand it over to Nenden Fathiastuti, who will moderate the press conference. Thank you, guys, once again. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day and have a wonderful start of the week. Nenden, the screen is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mbak Andini. Yes, terima kasih.